Hello, work life warriors. I hope you're doing well. Today, I wanted to stop past and talk about the third book I'm reading for January, which I just finished, and it is Man Searches for Himself. So, I just want to talk about one topic in this video, and then I'll do another video reviewing the actual book. So, the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I was talking to someone and they were talking about identity and brand. And the person said, as much as they hate to admit it, that brand comes before identity. And then someone jumped into the conversation and second that by talking about cattle. That cattle isn't valuable until someone comes and brand the cattle, and now it becomes valuable. And that got me to thinking, like, that is the society that we live in. So the cow or the cattle doesn't have value on its own, or its value is not respected until someone else comes and stamps it or brands it, or tells it it's valuable. Now, the cattle on its own doesn't have any idea of value, so its own life is valuable to itself, but it does not become something valuable to the rest of the world until it's branded. And it got me thinking, like, this has to be the story of our time. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about it and see what your thoughts are and see what you think about that. I picked a couple of quotes up from the book to kind of discuss. And I just want to discuss how being an individual, a person, is not valid or valuable to this society. You're only valuable unless you join a group, unless you're part of a family, an institution, a company. That's when you get your worth. But I argue that the collective power is so powerful because the individual power, the individual worth. If it was a whole bunch of individual invaluable people, then the collection of those people would not be valuable, because each individual person is not valuable. So the value of placing valuable people in a group is what make the collective power so valuable. So the individual is just as important as the group. The group does not exist without the individual. So is identity and identifying something the same? Is identity and identifying something the same? So when I think about the story of the cattle had identity way before human beings ever decided it was valuable. It was valuable in its own right. So now that we come and brand the cattle, we can identify it. But the identifiers that we have in society, is it really you? Are you really a teacher? Are you really a mother? Are you really an artist? Or are you in this body, and this body takes on those roles? Are you the role, or are you taking on the role? So when you think of cattle, they were valuable on their own. Whatever identity they have as cattle is valuable to their experience. But to identify them made them valuable to us. And identity and identifier are not the same thing. So you can identify with something, but it doesn't necessarily identify who you are. For instance, I can identify with people having children, but I don't have children. So it's not a part of my identity. Does that make sense? I mean, I was a child before, and human beings have the capacity to put our foot in other people's shoes. So I can identify with a mother, but it's not a part of my identity. And those are two different things. When you talk about identity, that is what brand is. But when you talk about identifying, that's what a brand is. But when you talk about identity, a person is born with their own identity and is valuable. And even if the world doesn't deem it valuable, it only makes it less valuable to the world. But but the experience that the cattle is having is not changed because of the value that we place or do not place on it. And that's where, as a human being, you should seek to be, in a place where you identify with yourself and your experience, and the identity that others give you does not change your value as far as how valuable you think you are. So on the flip side of that, also the things you identify with should not be adding value to your identity, because it's outside of you, and is an extrinsic motivation. So I just thought that that was so interesting. I just kind of wanted to sit back and listen to what they were saying. But to me, the overall message was, do people exist beyond validation? So do I not exist unless someone validates me? So if I am born into this world and people walk past me every day and never acknowledge me, do I cease to exist? I mean, I guess eventually being ignored will, human beings are social animals, so being ignored won't be good for our psyche. Being alone for long periods of time without human interaction isn't good for our psyche, especially if you are an external person. If you value more extrinsic rewards or motivations, it would not be good for your health. But you exist before value. So your experience is valuable to you, and that's why you must live it, and it can't be valuable to anyone else. When you give other people the opportunity to validate your experience, it means that you did not exist, or you were invisible before that person seen you. So the bigger part of this is, how do we get to the point where we can see ourselves so it doesn't matter if someone else sees us? It's great to be seen. It's great to be heard, respected, cherished. I'm not saying that you should not want these things, but whether they happen or they don't happen, it should not validate your existence. One thing that I absolutely I dislike about this society is that we do not value the individual. We value the group more than the individual. We will tell people, do what's best for the group, even though it's not best for the individual. We believe in fallen soldiers, or prices to pay, like, oh, this person paid the price for so on and so forth. But I do not believe that the group is more valuable than the individual, that you must sacrifice your needs for the group. It's kind of like the same thing with being a mother. Many mothers sacrifice their experience of being a mom, or let the experience of being a mom invalidate them as a person, where they will give up a lot of their wants, needs, free will to take care of other people, because they think that they get their self-esteem, self-worth, self-value through the group, or through, for instance, the family name. As a mom, if your family is thriving, then you derive some self-esteem from your family thriving. And so I want to say, like, if you're only operating at 50% because you have not taken care of yourself, then that means, although you do show up in the group and your group is well off, they only get 50% of you, which means it's not really an authentic experience. You're giving them a D experience of you, when you can fill yourself up, validate yourself, value yourself, cherish yourself, make your life worthy to you, or valuable to you. And it would not matter, it wouldn't only matter that your family is thriving. It also would matter if you're thriving, because what type of person shows up, or what type of experience do you have when a person is showing up at 100% versus 50%? Yes, you're loving them at 50%, but you're not giving them your best. And when you love people, you want to give them your best. So you must be valuable to yourself before you can ever be valuable to someone else. And so Our society is taught to worship the fruit, and ignore the seed. But the seed is most important. Without the seed, you do not get the fruit. You don't bear fruit without a seed. And so it's very important for us to switch this in our mind from external, extrinsic motivation to internal, intrinsic motivation, validating yourself, validating your experience, even if the world doesn't deem it valuable. There's a lot of people in society that, because of how they look, who they are, what they do, how they show up in this world, they're deemed invaluable, or sorry, they're deemed not valuable. And you can't let society define your worth, because they will always define you as less valuable than what you feel to be. So it's your responsibility uh, to accept your worth. And it's not because of anything that you did, anything that you will do, who you're married to, the kids you have, the degrees you have, the job you work at, the things you do or don't do. You are valuable because you were born, and someone already paid the cost, aka the pregnancy, the pain, for you to be born. So you are already worthy. There's nothing more for you to do, nothing more for you to be deemed worthy. Anything more is just icing on the cake. And so you want to look at the world through the lens of I'm enough always. There's nothing more I could be doing. There's nothing that I can change that will make me more valuable. I'm valuable already. Even if the society, my family, my friends, or anybody around me don't deem me as valuable as I feel, my opinion matters more than anyone else's, or my opinion about me and my experience matters more than anyone else. And we have a tendency to other people who value things internally or intrinsically more than extrinsic values. And I mean, I won't say it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that you create an other experience. People are allowed to pick what works for them, what serves them, and they should be able to do that without being othered, right? So if I'm a cattle and I don't want to be branded, I just want to be free and wild, and I don't want to be branded, it should be respected. It should be valued, cherished, and respected instead of ridiculed, instead of rejecting me. I should just be allowed to be. So, I talk about like on the opposite side, when they were having this discussion, they was just talking about a sense of urgency. And for me, it's never a sense of urgency when you are a part of the group, but it is very much a sense of urgency when you're not part of the group. When you're not, what you do is not the norm, you wish that at least it could be tolerated and not, people don't interfere. So again, it is a sense of urgency when you're always othered in society because you don't value what is deemed valuable in society. Um, and Yeah, like I said, that there's a standard in the masses, and they try to give you this one size fit all solution. So when you deem that that solution doesn't work for you, and that you would like to go and find a solution that works, and you find something that works for you, then people act like that you have done something personally to offend them because you don't find value in the things that they value. We all think different, or assign different values to different things, and it should be respected. It should be okay. Um, uh, the only thing that I hate about being othered is the society does not create opportunities for the person who is other, and we know success begets more success. So other people do not get the opportunity to be able to grow, or to be able to cover themselves because of the society that we're in. And we all should have the opportunity to grow, to expand, to develop. And so Rollo May talks a lot about, like, in the society when you are other, it's like a psychological death to you, because human beings are social animals, and to be rejected or outcast or other is really painful. So a lot of people tend to groupthink or tend to gravitate towards branding in order to be accepted. So in his book, he says we tend to be performers in life rather than the person who live and act as selves. And so we could think about this in a lot of like the models of our society, where people say, fake it till you make it. You're not happy, fake it till you make it. Which again, you don't really get to show up your authentic self, because you're faking it in hopes that one day you'll actually feel the way that you're projecting to the world. When really the gift is to be authentic and be who you are now. And in accepting that, you can bring on the experiences that you want, and instead of blocking them. And living an authentic life, or living a life, any energy creates more of the same energy. So if you're faking it, then you're creating more faking energy. If you're being authentic about how you're experiencing life right now, whether it is accepted or unacceptable, eventually you'll arrive at the place that you want to be, because you authentically accepted your experiences in the moment without trying to change them to be more acceptable for the society that you live in or the group of people that you're around. um, Rollo may also say an attitude which run through our society is so many people judge the value of their actions not on the basis of the actions itself, but on the basis of how the action is accepted. It is though one has always to postpone his judgment until he is looked at by the audience. Absolutely. This goes back to this whole identity this whole idea of brand coming before identity, because we if you are an intrinsic person, an external person, you value what others think about you more than you think about yourself. And so it doesn't matter if you are proud of yourself, or if you did a good job, or if you showed up and gave all you got, or if you put the effort in and you devoted the time. If other people don't also second how you feel, all of your effort, everything that you just put in it is null. And it just cannot be that way. We cannot produce art for spectators. We cannot do or live or be for spectators. You have to produce art for you. You have to write for you. You have to live for you. You have to feed you. You do these things for yourself, not because of what other people would think about you doing them or the consequences of you doing them. So what you do or what you don't do cannot be because of someone else. It has to be because it serves your needs or doesn't serve your needs. And again, you are valuable even if society doesn't deem you valuable, even if society doesn't brand you, or there isn't a brand out there that fits authentically who you are still valuable. And you don't have to wait for people to validate you. And your experience is no less credible or important as someone else's. Everyone, equal playing field, all of us, our experiences only matter to the person who is experiencing it. So once you get in the mindset of only experiencing certain things or not experiencing certain things for other people, you are just existing. You are no longer living. And living is what life is about. You don't want to just exist and go through the motions and hit every milestones, but dead inside. You would rather be alive inside and pick what serves you, even if society ridicules it. He also says finding the center of strength within ourselves is what society needs, not new ideas and invention, important as these are, and not geniuses or supermen, but persons who can be. That is, persons who have a center of strength within themselves. Absolutely. We have been taught to do, that we can't be who we want to be, have what we want to have, unless we do what we don't want to do, which I don't understand that. How does doing what you don't want to do produce what you want and who you want to be? It can't. It just can't. If you do not enjoy the means of taking a journey, will the destination be satisfying if you did not enjoy the journey to get there? It is very, very important Again, we from grade school all the way up until the moment we get a job, what we have been taught most more than anything in this world is how to be a working professional. And so, or taught to do, basically. We have been taught to do, to work. That's what we know more than anything else in this life, more than ourselves, more than our family, more than our wants, needs, likes, dislikes, strengths, weaknesses. We know how to work. And so the question becomes, um, if we're taught to do all the time, how comfortable are we just being? And being is where your essence reside. It's where you can grow into your best self. But if it's not valuable, and what we cherish in society is the grind mentality, the do, the no sleep, the do it with little fuel, if that is what is rewarded and what we value, then we don't value the people who do not fit this standard, even if the standard is producing more than just tangible gains for them. They may have tangible gains, but ultimately, people want happiness as well. So, if being produces both happiness and the tangible gains, but it's not respected in society, will more leaders or more people move towards being instead of doing. And being is really what we need to be. We are human beings. We need to do more human being than being human doings. We spend most of our time here on earth doing, and we spend very little time being. And we are human beings. And so this world really does need leaders that are unafraid to go against the grain and do something different and walk away from the brands, the large brands that serve our lives, that create the milestones that we know, and create their own milestones, create their own identity. And if they like their own brand, if it serves them, but a brand cannot be who you are, because once it's taken away from you, who are you? Who are you? Also, our society tends to celebrate the geniuses of the world and the supermans of the world, but geniuses is not respecting that every human being has a form of genius, and we all have a form of genius. We're all connected to what's greater, source, God, Allah, whatever you call it. We're all connected, so all of us have genius within us. And when you relegate a term to genius to a certain person who is at the top of that, it invalidates anyone in their own individual genius. They begin to compare and go, oh, well, yes, I'm smart, but I'm not smart like, or yes, I'm funny, I'm not funny like, or yes, I'm cool, but I'm not cool like. And so it creates this sort of comparison and competition in between people when we should not be competing. We should be cooperating. And so we're all geniuses. And although that person's gift is intellect at the top, it should not be what we celebrate only. We should celebrate the little geniuses in each and every person. We all have a little genius in us. And as far as Superman, I have no idea why we're so obsessed with superheroes. I do understand it in the sense of it's the story of a villain and a superhero is an internal struggle within. A lot of us secretly um, identify with the villain, although we want the superhero to win. This is because the villain represents our shadow self or our worst self, the self that we're showing up in as showing up in the world as. And the hero is our highest ideals. It is our highest self, is who we seek to become. And so secretly we identify more with the villain, even though we're rooting for the superhero to win, because we want to conquer our shadow side and be the heroes of our own lives. But why would you want to be a hero when you can just be a human? Superheroes have a job of saving people who don't want to be saved every single day. And every single day, after all your long, hard work, the world is back in peril again. Who wants that job? That's a never-ending job. It's a job that people are ungrateful for. They don't really value what you do because, again, they other you. As a super person, you're not human, they other you. So, although you're risking your life every day and you're fighting for the justice of humans, the humans other you. So, I would not want to be a Superman. I don't understand the fascination of it. I would rather just be human. It allows more freedom to exist, to be, to learn, to grow, to make mistakes. A superhero can't make mistakes. They're super, and they are in charge of not only making sure that they don't die, but to make sure everybody around them don't die or don't get hurt. And that's a lot to take on when you're not really super. You're just a human, and you should be okay with being just a human. It gives you so much grace to show up in this world as yourself, to be authentic, to be who you really are, and to learn who you would like to be and work towards that ideal. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is the last quote that I thought was interesting in relation to this topic is, "The Western world, to its peril, has all but lost. It brings a new appreciation for being something rather than merely doing something. With such a relation to oneself, work for us modern men, who are the great toilers and producers, will not be an escape from ourselves or a way of trying to prove our worth, but a creative expression of the spontaneous powers of the person who has consciously affirmed his relation to his world and his fellow men." Absolutely. Again, work cannot give you meaning because we know work nowadays is not something that is stable, that you may go through many jobs, you may be fired, the company may shut down. So if you identify with work and it is a part of your identity, and now that it is no longer available, what does that mean for your psyche? What does that mean for your mentality, for who you think you are? Um, we cannot just only be doing beings. We cannot work for merely doing something. We have to know why we're doing it, and it has to matter to us why we're doing it. And now we have a lot of people who are starting to, wake up and decide that I don't get my value from being an employee, from working 9 to 5, for working 30 plus years, that I want to add some work-life balance to that. I want to, be in addition to do. And I'm giving a call to action to everyone. I know that we do a lot of doing in our lives, but what do you do to be? How do you be? What do you do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly to be? How do you make sure that every day that you are doing the work to become who you want to be? Not waiting on you to do certain things, to have certain things to be who you want to be, but demanding every single day of yourself the requirement it takes to develop yourself. What are you doing to be? How do you feel about the being and enduring plight of our society? How much time do you spend doing versus being? Do you find doing adds more energy to you? Does it renew you, or does being add more energy and renew you? Um, so yeah, I just want to let everyone kind of just think about what they think makes them valuable, what makes them worthy, what gives them value. What do you think gives you your worth? Is it the job you work, the family you have, the person you marry, your kids? What gives you your worth? Is it the fact that you're experiencing life, or is life experiencing you? Well, I hope that helps. This was a very, very good book. I'm going to come back and do a full book review of it. I just kind of wanted to come past and talk a little bit about how we're being valued in society and identity versus identifying. So please share with me below your thoughts. What do you think about this? And as always, I hope this helps. Have a great day, work life warriors.